Hello and welcome back to Holistically Well. Today I am joined by Janelle Ahrens. And before we dive into today's conversations about fat loss, I want to start with a gentle reminder and reframe. Your worth is not defined by a number on the scale, especially in the seasons of pregnancy and early postpartum, when your body is literally building and nourishing life. Weight loss should not be the goal. In fact, focusing too much on weight during pregnancy or within the first 12 to 18 months postpartum, especially while breastfeeding, can disrupt your body's healing, your hormone balance, and even your milk supply. So this episode about fat loss with Janelle, a expert on the topic, is not about shrinking yourself. It's truly about understanding your metabolism, your energy availability, and what supports your body in the right season. So if you are in a season where your body is ready, like preconception or over a year postpartum and you're no longer breastfeeding, this conversation is absolutely here to help you reconnect with your body, honor its cues, and make aligned, sustainable changes for fat loss. Now let's dive in. So Janelle Ahrens, welcome to Holistically Well. I am so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you. Yes, that was so well said. So thanks, Kayla, for having me. This conversation's so important, like you said, for like postpartum moms, even like, I mean, you're now pregnant with baby four, and you know like how life changes after you become a mom and your obligations and priorities change. So this is so important. So thanks so much for having me. Um, so what I'll do is I'll kind of talk a little bit on like my testimony, and then kind of what I do, who I serve, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So my name is Janelle Ahrens. So what I do is I work with women, and my signature program, the Sustainable Fat Loss Solution, helps women lose 10 to 20 pounds in 12 weeks. So done in a sustainable way, educating on nutrition, proper movement, muscle growth, and establishing habits along the way that you can count on. That way, when my clients feel like they reach their happy weight, they know what to do from there. Because I mean, I can't tell you how many clients come in and they're like, I've tried, XYZ things. It just doesn't stick around. Nutrition is confusing, like metabolism is confusing, and they end up feeling like they don't know where to go after they successfully reach a goal. So that's like kind of the second piece of my program is I teach the sustainable habits to reach the goal, and then what to do, how to nourish your metabolism along like this journey of life. So that's what I do. That's how I coach. That's my program. And then kind of what got me into coaching, I've been coaching now for almost 9 years, which is insane to say. But I found myself 30 pounds heavier than I felt comfortable with. Like I woke up one morning and my clothes didn't fit. I felt like this is the new me now. I didn't know what first step to take. I found myself Googling like all of the questions, like, is fruit bad for you? The answer is like, fruit is not bad for you, but like random things float around about sugar, and I didn't know where to start. So one of the first things I did do is give up carbohydrates. Like that was, the buzz thing is lower carbs. And about a couple weeks into that, I found myself like so dizzy all the time. Went to urgent care. The doctor there told me I was dehydrated, and I knew it was more than that, but I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And then I thought about it, and in my head, like no carbs meant like literally zero carbs. And so I wasn't eating well. And so along the way, I'm now a fat loss expert for women. I am technically like a body recomp physique development coach as well. I've worked along some really amazing registered dietitians, who are technically like more so considered like a doctor of nutrition. And so, yeah, that's a little bit on my testimony. I was able to successfully lose the 30 pounds. I've had 3 pregnancies, navigated like the sustainable habits through those. And which, by the way, I couldn't believe how much after having a baby, like your priorities shift. Like my workout was like the highlight of my day until I got pregnant and I was sick for 6 months, and I was like, wow, like this is
Yes.
insane. But yeah, that's a little bit on my story. And yeah, that's a little bit on that.
I love it. And that's where the sustainability piece comes in because you're right, like it changes with each life season. So, can you
Mhm.
chat a little bit about how your methods differ from the traditional diet culture or macro math approaches, like where we're only focused on like the amount of macronutrients that you're getting?
Yeah. So I would say like traditional weight loss programs, it's a lot of restriction mindset is what weight loss ends up being for a lot of women. A lot of women know like you need to be in a technically a calorie deficit to effectively lose body weight or body fat, but it's just but women don't have context on what that even means or what a good calorie goal feels like for them. How should 2,000 calories actually feel? Like do you have context on what that even means? So I'm really big on the food education part and then the practicality of like making that work because if you Google healthy recipes, you're probably going to find a lot of beautifully printed out just like, 20 ingredients and it's overwhelming and we can have that in our life. I have a little story that I tell my clients about how I opted in for HelloFresh for just I had a coupon and they sent me recipes I have never even heard of and I was trying them and I was like I can cook these things. Like I can, you can challenge yourself to like take one step further into nutrition, but you don't have to start there. Just having awareness of what like 100 plus grams of protein feels like is really big. And then having the feedback from the coach is the biggest piece. My program is 1-to-1. So I'm able to say, here's what your food logs look like. Here's where we can make changes so you can feel better. Even having like the awareness of okay having more patience with my kids is a sign that I'm nourishing my body. Like we don't
Yeah.
correlate our mood with food and it's like they do go hand in hand. So yeah, past the this is what our like this is the macro breakdown that you should be hitting. These are the protein, carbs, and fats that you should be consuming every day. It's understanding how to bring that into life and then knowing how to live outside of these are my macros. Like for example, like women don't realize you have like there's a large percent of your like daily burned calories are from what you're doing every day. Like they're from doing your laundry and being outside like just doing yard work. Like these are it's not from your workout. Like you don't need to burn 1,000 calories in a workout. So like those contextual pieces I'm like so passionate about. So they can leave feeling empowered on how to sustain their results essentially.
Yeah, and that ties in with the hormone health side of things because if you are under fueling and under fueling and then over exporting, essentially, right? You're exercising more than what you're fueling. Yes, we need a deficit for fat loss. We need a deficit for weight loss, right? But it
Mm,
can't be such a big deficit that we're not also supporting your hormones. And so you can know if you're not getting enough to just support your body's daily needs if your mood is off, right? As you mentioned, like if you're
yeah.
snapping at your kids, you're probably not getting enough fuel or the right kind of fuel. Or if you lose your menstrual cycle after being regular, like that could also be a sign. So there's definitely a balance to all of this that I think you do a really good job portraying.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like even with that too, like women don't realize like successful fat loss is done in point 0.8 to like up to 2 pounds a week. Maybe 2 pounds in the beginning. You're not going to lose a pound of weight the rest of your life. Like that's not the goal. Like the goal is not weight loss forever. If you find yourself in a season where you're like you don't recognize yourself anymore, I think it's okay and fair to say like I can do better, right? We all can do better. Like I do believe that self-discipline is a form of self-respect. Like I love that conversation. But it's not 5 pounds a week. It's not 5 pounds forever. It's literally 1 pound a week. And you know what's gonna happen the week before your period? You're gonna start out at X weight. You're gonna if you're adhered to the program, well, you're gonna be down 4 pounds in a month, which doesn't seem like a lot. What's gonna happen the week before your period? Your weight's gonna technically go up. Not because you just gained 2 pounds of body fat, but because that's just the natural retention pattern that your body has. And so if you're comparing, if you're looking at that data and you're like, the scale didn't even move. Well, there is science behind that, but that's not also like the only metric. So then having like context on those pieces as well, like what does actually like successful like progress look like? And so
Yes.
to your point, like this, it's not, it's, and sometimes it does take like 16 weeks to lose 20 pounds, and that's okay. Like, okay, who do you like? Christmas is what, like a couple, like 4 months away, something, 4.5 months away. Like, you can be a better person by Christmas, but we don't need to be a better person by like the end of September. You will be, but yeah. So, understanding what that timeline looks like is important.
Absolutely. So let's discuss fat loss versus weight loss. So you specifically call yourself like a fat loss specialist, right? So what is the difference between fat loss and weight loss, and why does that matter, especially for women?
Yes. So fat loss and weight loss a lot of times go hand in hand, but they do not always go hand in hand. When a woman says I want to lose 20 pounds, what they're really saying is I want to feel better in my clothes. I want to feel better in my body. And in order to do that, like we will lose body fat. What you're really saying is you want to lose body fat and you want to gain muscle. Like those are the two things that you're saying if you want to feel better in your clothes. So then the question becomes, okay, is my goal fat loss? Is my goal weight loss? I'm going to kind of give a little analogy here. If you are in like, if you do have a 20 or plus pound weight loss goal, you probably downloaded apps in the past and it's like, it, for maybe workouts or meal plans or something. And one of the onboarding questions gives you like a slew of what's your goals? And it's like toning, body, like weight loss, whatever. Like there's like 5 different options and you're looking at them all and you're like, all of these question mark? Like I want to feel better in all of these ways. If you feel like you have a 10-pound weight loss goal, your goal is might not be directly tied to weight. It's more so tied to body recomposition. So that's a fancy way of saying you want to gain muscle and lose body fat, and that may or may not reflect on the scale. It also depends on how much muscle mass you have on your frame right now. I'm going to kind of give an example of a client that I'm working with right now. She's been amazing. She's like 12 weeks into her one-to-one coaching program. She has like over like around like a 20-pound goal, and in 12 weeks she's down like around 8 pounds, and that's been discouraging for her, but it was so cool because she stepped on the scale, and in terms of, well, I say the scale, but a body recomposition scale, which have a time and place. Like you don't need to rely on these things, but they, in terms of context, they can be helpful sometimes. But she was down in the body fat, metric, 20 pounds of body fat, and then she had gained like 12 pounds of muscle. So that, and her clothes are fitting better. She's down 2 pant sizes, which is not, I don't want you to feel like that's the goal, but if you have over a 20-pound weight loss goal, that is essentially 2 pant sizes. Would you feel like a rock star if you can adhere to a program in that way. But what I'm saying is it doesn't always correlate that way directly. If you have over 20 pounds to lose and you know that, I do think that weight can be a metric of progress. But again, you're not going to lose weight forever. And I have rules when I sit down. Like women are not supposed to be 5% body fat. What you just need to be a healthy body fat to support and have good muscle mass. Like if you live there, that is a very happy place to live. And your role doesn't even revolve around that anymore. You're just moving well, feeling good. Your brain is functioning well. Like those, that's important. So fat loss is body recomposition. It's losing body fat and gaining muscle. Weight loss is just on the scale, although it's not our only sign of progress is the scale. So, everyone has a different relationship with the scale, and you don't need to feel like it's, like your weight is the least interesting thing about you. Like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't need to be like the only metric that we're using, but that's kind of a little bit of the difference. The only other thing that I think is really cool and interesting here is when women restrict calories. Like if you've ever restricted calories in the past for a month and you lost 10 pounds, you lost muscle mass. Okay, like that's the exact opposite of what you want to be doing. You literally store energy in your muscles. And when you are restricting calorie, your body's using your muscle as fuel. So if you're down, if you do a low carb diet or a fast and oh my gosh, yeah, you're down 10 pounds, that's not the weight you're actually wanting to lose anyway. It's muscle mass, which is the opposite of what you want to lose. So muscle mass is like one of the most anti-aging things you can have on your frame. So you need to be nourishing that and reserving it as much as you can.
Yes, preach it from the rooftops because I talk about that so much because we lose our muscle mass after the age of 30 each decade. We're losing about 5% of our muscle mass. And so you
Mhm.
absolutely want to maintain what you have and then build off of that, as you mentioned. And muscle burns more than fat. So it's also like from a metabolic health standpoint, you are going to burn more calories when you have more muscle. And so, yes, the scale does not tell the full story because muscle also weighs more than fat, right? And so, to your
Yeah.
story of your client who has only lost 8 pounds, but also but actually lost much more body fat and then gained muscle. Like that makes so much sense. Now, you mentioned a scale that also measures body recomposition. Do you have a specific one that you recommend or use with your clients?
I don't. I actually don't. That's not something I like if they have it, we'll use it, or sometimes at the gyms that they go to, they'll have, body index scans, and every 4 weeks it's actually very cool. Like their progress will reflect on that scale, like more muscle and less body fat. So that's pretty awesome. But you don't necessarily need that to gauge progress. And I also tell my clients, like, you don't need to rely on that thing completely. Like just like your Apple Watch. Like you don't need to let this thing tell you how good you're doing in life. Like but it is a great tool, especially if you have, over a 20-pound weight loss goal. Some gyms will have them. I feel like some health departments have them in like their like in like the within the county, like you can find them. I'm not exactly sure, or you can buy one from like Amazon. And again, it can be a little bit more expensive, but it's just another metric that you can say, okay, that's really cool. I'm up 2% body fat and I'm down 5% body fat. Like I'm doing something right. So
Yes. And my undergraduate degree is in exercise science. And so it's something that I've definitely looked into. And when I was in that program, we did a ton of research and had access to like all of the best tools for measuring body recomposition. And that was really cool to see. So
yeah,
if you have access to those really high tech options, it can be very helpful. But I will say the at home ones, I've looked into them just to, be able to offer to clients or whatever, just to look at the research behind them. And it's not great in terms of it being super accurate compared to the really high end ones you're going to find at like a research institution, right? But what
yes,
I will say is that when you are comparing you to you on the same scale, so let's say you go on Amazon and buy one to have at home, it does do a good job reading you compared to you on 4 week increments, right? So if you're measuring yourself on the same scale each time, like that should be pretty darn accurate. Now, if you went to a really high end one at a research institution, it might give you different numbers. But when we track progress, that is going to look the same, if that makes sense.
absolutely. Yeah. I completely agree with that. So it can definitely be a way to say like I'm doing the right thing. So
hmm Yeah. And
100% agree.
sometimes we're all different. Some people really like having those numbers, right? And
Hmm.
so that can be a
Yeah.
helpful tool if that is the case. But as you said, we don't want to rely on that because what's more important is how you feel, right?
Absolutely.
Now, entering into motherhood, right? So you started this, journey when you were 30 pounds overweight, but this was in college, you didn't have any kids yet. Working out was able to be the highlight of your day. Now you've shifted into motherhood. You have 3 children. What gets in the way of fat loss, especially after having children?
Yeah. So this was like honestly like groundbreaking for, well, not groundbreaking, maybe that's not the right word, but I could not believe how hard it was to get a workout in when I had one kid. I can do it better now that I have three than I could when I had one, but I couldn't believe how my priorities changed. Like the second they put my daughter on my chest, I was like, this is the only thing I care about. And we're biologically wired that way, but that like it wasn't workouts for me anymore. So I was still doing them, but there was like this frustrating part for me where like I would try to work out and then my baby would cry and I couldn't focus on it. Like I didn't feel like I would accomplish like that really good workout that I could do beforehand. And then when you're pregnant and you're breastfeeding, you're also like super cautious of like what you're eating, that's on your mind more is just how you're moving, and it didn't feel as like, it wasn't as that me time that I got beforehand. So that was definitely like a major shift that I experienced. I was in the best shape of my life before I got pregnant, and I weighed like 148 pounds or something like that. I had a sick pregnancy, which I didn't initiate enough during my first 6 months of my first pregnancy. Like I just kind of let it be that way. I didn't really do much to like feel better. I didn't really know what to do. I just felt so sick. I was throwing up like twice a day for like 6 months. It was not fun, but whatever. It's just it happens. But I wasn't really working out like as consistently. And then when I was 6 months postpartum with my firstborn, I was like 15 pounds lighter than I was when I was in the best shape of my life. And I was I lost so much muscle. Like I lost
Yes.
so much muscle during that process. And I like, to be quite honest, like I was sitting on my bottom in my car one day, like driving, and I felt different sitting. Like I could tell how much muscle I lost in my butt. Like I was
Hmm.
like, who is this person? Like I felt so skinny. Like I didn't, I lost so much muscle. And, I it was just a whole different experience. So yeah, you become a mom and your priorities change. And I think and not to speak on like I will kind of speak on my personal experience with this a little bit, but as I talk about these next couple pieces, but in terms of like the person listening today, like you become a mom, you want to focus on bettering you, what gets in the way? I think one thing is like the mindset approach, like the all or nothing mindset. It's so hard even before you have kids to reflect on like how you can't focus on yourself so much. And then you try to go all in for like eating better and working out, and it just becomes super overwhelming. So mindset, like all or nothing, you don't need to be 100% on to have results. You need to know what matters most and do those things over and over and over again, and you will feel better doing that. But all or nothing mindset can get in the way. We unintentionally undereat as moms, like, and I do think a lot of that is unintentional, but sometimes if you are focusing on weight loss, you feel like less is better. And I'm all about like fat loss is about more, feeling better, like eating better, like doing those things better. So undereating is not helping you. So to give you some context, like if you're having like a banana and with peanut butter for breakfast, it needs to be a banana, peanut butter, 2 eggs, and like a piece of toast. Like it needs to be more.
Yes.
So yeah, so like if you're it's unintentional is the under eating part, but that gets in the way of fat loss. Like we need to be eating we have to have good eating patterns, and it needs to be frequent and intentional. So that's a piece. And then I think the third thing that comes to mind here, Kayla, is when women want to start exercising, their first resort is cardio. And that's not, I don't want to say cardio is not good because it has a time and place. But if you are just wanting to start running 3 miles a day and you're also like under eating, you're going to end up feeling frustrated. A month into, you're taking 30 minutes out of your day to yourself again, and it feels good to run, and you're running, you're doing it, and you have an endorphin high after you run, but you're a month into this approach and you feel like you haven't made any progress, and it's like, gosh, what's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. We just need to rearrange how you're spending your time. So if you have 30 minutes a day only, focus on meal prep before fitness. And slash, or if you're going to be committing 30 minutes a day to exercise, I'd rather you be strength training like 2 out of 3 times. So if you're 2 out of 3 workouts a week are strength, you have your running day. I have girls that come in and they're like, I love running. And I'm like, let's do that. Like, let's run. But we can also, we can be strategic with how we're, you know, spending our 30 minutes of exercise. So I think those are some things. I'd be happy to talk on any of those pieces that you feel like would resonate with your audience.
Yeah, no, I think those are all super important. And to your point of fueling first is huge. Can you speak for a minute on when you only start your day with like a banana, right? Instead of the banana with the eggs, with the toast, with the peanut butter, right? When you only start your day with a banana or nothing, how does that affect fat loss? Because a lot of people are just like, oh, calories in, calories out. So I'm eating less, so I'm going to lose more weight. But why is that not always the case?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things for fat loss, and I know the girl listening knows this, but protein is so important. And so if you're how are you going to meet your protein goal? Like that becomes a question. And it's eating enough throughout the day. That's literally the answer. And so if you're skipping breakfast and you're having a salad with some berries at lunch, like at that point you might have 20 grams of protein when we should already be up to like 50 to 60 grams of protein. So we're so when you're skipping out on protein at breakfast time, you're skipping out on the opportunity to hit your protein goal at the end of the day. So that's one thing. Like if you did one thing after this episode today to better your health, if you hit your protein goal for 10 weeks straight, you will lose like 4 pounds of body fat just by doing that. Like that's just how important it is for not only your health, but like if you do have a body recomposition goal, protein is the it. And so you need to turn your just carbohydrate breakfast and lunch. And lunch is actually its own conversation because women are not eating lunch, or they're working through lunch, or they're feeding their kids lunch and they're picking off of their plate. And so lunch is an often missed opportunity as well. So I would say that one of the biggest things is starting your day off with that amount of protein so that you can set yourself up for a day of protein success. Something in your stomach is better than nothing, but there are a lot of easy ways that you can just incorporate, like a yogurt in the morning is easy for a lot of people. Sure, do your yogurt, put some granola on there, and pair it with a banana and some peanut butter and turn 200 calories into 400 or 500 with the right like ratio balance. So I don't need your 400 calories to come from like a donut and a sugary coffee, but I would love for it to come from half of a donut, a string cheese, and a hard-boiled egg. Like that's how we can make those
Yes.
changes. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
So my community loves actionable, practical tips. So let's go through. That was awesome for breakfast. Let's go through the full day. Like, what should a
love
typical
it.
day of eating look like for our women?
Yes. So should I talk about this in regards to weight loss? I'd imagine would be the goal here.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
think?
yeah. Let's talk
And
about it
there,
in regards to weight loss. Yep.
yeah. And so yes. So in regards to weight loss, and again, like the average, like there's kind of this debate on like a good calorie number in terms of metabolism and what that actually looks like. I'm going to kind of preface this with a client example. So I had a client come in and she was severely under eating for like over 2 years. And her metabolic rate at that point was low and her thyroid hormones were reflecting that. And so we actually upped her calories to like nearly 2000, which was almost 1000 over where it was. And I told her, and we hadn't talked about this, like this is the first step for success for you, for successful, because she has over a 20-pound goal. Like if she wants to lose 20 pounds, she needs to reboot her metabolism first. Like if I cut calories, her restriction, her calorie deficit would be like 800 in regards to where her calorie was. Like if I put her 800, she would lose 20 pounds. But that is not the goal here. Okay. So
Yeah.
metabolic reboot is important. So we upped her calories and she is up in weight like 10 pounds. And it feels a little scary, but what will happen in a metabolic reboot is your weight will level out, your thyroid hormone will be happy again, and then that is ready when your body is ready for to let go of body fat. So
That
like
makes sense.
so yeah, so in terms of like a good restriction number, it just
Hmm.
depends on the person and kind of where you're coming in with food. If you've
For
been
sure.
overeating for a year, your body's gonna love, well, I say love, but feel much better on like a lower number that's more appropriate for you. So it just kind of depends. Like when people think about like what is actually like a number for a calorie deficit, you have to reflect on where you're coming in. And if you know you've been under eating for a long time, weight loss is not the starting point. On average, like 1600 to 2100 calories a day is for most women kind of where that range is. If you've been under eating for a long time and you start there, you're going to gain some body fat to start. That's okay. Like that's where you need to live to feel better. Like if you want to feel better in a year, this is literally where you need to start. So, just to kind of preface this answer.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's really helpful.
Yeah. So with what an average day of eating should look like for a
Yeah.
woman in like a 1600 to 2100 calorie goal. And again, this done consistently will help you be down about 1 pound of body fat a week over the course of 8 weeks. That's 8 to 10 pounds. That's awesome. Okay, so what does this look like? It's a one plate of food for each meal, I guess, to start. So if you have a banana, if you can think about how if you take a plate and you cut it into like three pieces, you have a carbohydrate source. Carbs are important. Your brain alone uses like 4 pieces of bread a day to function. Okay, ladies, like you need carbs. One, you'll have a serving of carb, a serving of protein, and then just fruits and vegetables to kind of cover like the other half of your plate, essentially. I coach on my clients like I would love 5 servings of fruits and veggies together throughout the course of the day. So that means one with every meal. And then an additional fruit snack. Maybe you can pair that with a yogurt like in the middle of the day. So for breakfast, like just simple staple things here. If you're new to healthy eating, I love the quote, like, if God made it, I can eat it. I'm not a food rule person, but I think that gives a lot of clarity on the yes things that are going to help you feel your best. So if it comes from the ground, if it comes from an animal, I'm all game for that. So eggs, I love eggs in the morning. I think if you can find a way to incorporate eggs into your morning, that's going to be one of the best ways you can start your day, like up to 4 eggs a day or even in breakfast. So eggs, toast is really easy. Any fruit, yogurt. I feel like cottage cheese. I'm into the cottage cheese world too. So, it's just really simple staple things. But yeah, so it's a plate of food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And your lunch can be your leftovers from, the night before. I think that's perfectly fine. When you're packing your lunch for work, I want it to be like a container of your leftover food. It's like those traditional serving size spoons. It's like 2 scoops of the traditional serving size spoon.
So
Is
when you're
kind of
talking about a serving size spoon, are you talking about like a cup?
It would be like, so like the utensils that you use to make your dinner, like a
Okay.
spatula, essentially. Like
Mm-hmm.
a spatula that's like what, like 3 inches long and like 2 inches wide. You would want 1 scoop of protein with that spatula spoon, and or I'm sorry, well, 1.5, I would say, and then a scoop of your carbohydrate source. So if you're doing
Okay.
like a really simple dinner, and again, you don't need like fancy recipes. You can do like if it's grilled chicken and some potatoes with a vegetable, perfect. It doesn't need to be fancy. Um, so a scoop and a half of chicken, a scoop of potato, and then like 2 scoops of vegetable is what it would look like. And so that could be for lunch and for dinner as well. A plate of food is kind of, I think, one of the best ways to think about it. So it's filling your plate. It's not trying to make everything small. It ends up being like maybe the size of your hand for each food item on your plate
That's
is what
super
that would look
helpful.
like.
So this is just so practical because it gives people a place of where to start and it's so sustainable. So that really would be kind of that phase one, right? Like nourishment over restriction. Let's
Yeah.
move into strength training and cardio, like where, and I know you're huge on this. So like how is that typically programmed out for a given week with fat loss as the goal?
Yes. So again, like I'll connect with the client when they come in. Like some women are freaking ready to go. Like they're ready to press play and they're excited about a plan that they can like commit to. I think it's healthy and fun to have like seasons of your life where you're more focused on like your fitness or like a certain goal within fitness. Like that's fun. You don't always have to live there though. Like 3 workouts a week at 30 minutes a piece is it's a great starting point. You don't need 6 workouts a week to effectively gain muscle mass, and I actually don't really want you to be working out for 6 days a week. I'd rather you work out for 4 to 5, like 4 or 5, because recovery is a huge part of this process. So in terms of like a foundational place to start, I would say start with 3 or 4 workouts a week at about 30-ish minutes a piece. 70% of that being resistance training. And like the unsexy things make you sexy, you guys. Like I'm talking like simple strength training stuff. Like you don't need to confuse your muscles. You don't need to be doing like it's fun to have a fun circuit, like I love fun circuits with fun exercises. I'm all about that, but you don't need to feel like you always have to be changing it up to or try something new. You just need to do this simple staple things, over and over again. And right now my husband Kyle and I were doing a program together in our little gym downstairs, and the kids are down there, and it's like we don't always do that, but we're going to do this for, 2 months. And it's just like a fun way to like respark some excitement to exercise. But yeah, 3 to 4 workouts is a great place to start with just simple staple stuff: chest press, squat, lunge, rowing variations. If you've been an athlete in the past and you had like a strength training program that you did, or if you've been in the exercise world for a while, it is those exercises. But one way you're going to make the most of your time is to challenge yourself in some way. If you want to see change, you have to challenge yourself. So that's either lifting heavier or challenging yourself with your range of motion is another way that you can do that. So like you got your squat down, okay, go like an inch deeper into your squat now if that feels comfortable. Or like elevate your foot if you're doing a lunge, elevate your front foot or your rear foot so that you can just go down a little farther into your lunge. So like these are some things that you can be doing that are going to maximize your 30 minutes of effort. I guess those are some great places to start with strength training. Another often missing piece is just like your movement every day is so underrated. Walking. And this is especially true for desk job workers. Like if you work a desk job, like the average desk job worker is getting like 3 to 5,000 steps a day. And like our moms, 2 generations before us, were getting like 40,000 steps a day just by living life. Like this is like it's underrated. And what I tell my clients, like, okay, when you come in for these like 3 or 6 months of programming, like we are going to be focusing on getting more steps. Like that's going to be important. And sometimes that can feel like a little overwhelming. It's like, I can only squeeze so much into my day. Like you go on a walk, like start 10 minutes outside, just in 10-minute intervals. When you reach a weight that you're happy with, you're not going to have to keep walking 10,000 steps a day every day to be healthy. Well, okay, maybe I shouldn't say it like that. You're not going to have to walk over 10,000 steps a day even to sustain your results. You're going to have so much context at that point on how to maintain your results. You're not going to have to do that. Is it healthy to do that? Yes. You might be like, holy cow, I can never go a day in my life without a 10-minute walk ever again because this is so awesome. Like those are some things you should realize. If you're in a season where you're focusing on fat loss though, like it's so important. And you're going to establish some habits along the way that you'll keep outside of, understanding where those boundaries are, if that kind of makes sense. So yeah, that's what I would say in terms of like daily movement, it's actually it's actually a bigger contributor to caloric burn than your workout would be.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes so much sense. And so with the strength training and walking and I know you mentioned some about runners and girls who like to run, we can keep that up, we can program that in. But if somebody is not typically a high cardio person or not a runner, is that something you're programming in? Or can women achieve, the 10 to 20 pounds of fat loss without high cardio?
Yeah, I love this question, Kayla. So I always preface, like I always ask her, do they enjoy cardio? Because there are absolutely benefits to I guess there's a couple different categories of cardio. There's like a long steady state cardio that's like your 3 mile run. Some girls get high on that. Like we love, like I encourage that. Like I'll schedule one run a week because we can't just like spend an hour exercising every day. That's just not practical for moms. So I'll schedule a run in there, like one run. And then, for my other clients we want to like improve cardio in less time, I think HIIT training is a great way to do that. I'm not saying like 30 minutes of intervals, but I'm saying literally 7 to 15 minutes of intervals on a cardio machine you enjoy is a great way to challenge your heart in less time. That's also great to like give your metabolism a little kick, which by the way, like the word metabolism is just simply how your body's digesting and utilizing and dispersing energy. So if you're doing a quick HIIT workout, your body's like recovery mode activated, and it's just like boom, all of a sudden it speeds it up a little bit, uses your energy, wants to recover your muscles, begs for more food. That's a good thing. So I'm not worried about like a little HIIT workout like elevating your cortisol unless you have a thyroid issue or something along those lines. Like I think there's good forms of stress that we can lean into.
Yeah.
But that is different than doing a HIIT workout for 20 minutes every day a week,
Yes,
a week, right?
totally.
So like, yeah, so I'll schedule HIIT like 2 times a week for those girls who I have 30 minutes. Let's do HIIT twice a week. And then pair that with like a 20-minute strength training workout. So you were asking about, do you need cardio to effectively lose body fat or hit a 20-pound goal? Like the answer is no. If you are a desk job worker and you turn your 5,000 steps into 8, that is my cardio check mark for you, paired with some HIIT training in there. If you love running and you're like, how can we implement my running? I would say like, again, like go back to like 60 to 70% ratio. Some women have an hour of exercise every day. Like they're like, nope, that's what I do. I love exercising. It's my sanity saver. That's what I'm doing. And so if that's the case, like let's strength train before you run, but let's strength train, run, and let's have one day designated to running. And then in that world of running, I want you to challenge yourself as you run. Like I want you have your pace. Let's go a little faster. or let's go a little longer. I think that's one way you can best utilize your time for running if you're using it for the sake of like trying to improve your heart, which any run is good. Like, but yeah, that's how I answer that question.
Yeah, thank you. So let's shift into strategic stress management and sleep because you've talked about the importance of recovery. Let's tap into that
Mhm.
aspect of things.
I love that. Okay. So, wait, repeat your question one more time. Like effective
So,
strategies for it? Like
yeah,
how
for
can they?
strategic stress management and sleep in terms of optimizing recovery.
Yeah. So recovery is like it is underrated. Like you need to be, if you want to gain muscle mass effectively, your muscles need to recover. So how are you going to, one of the best ways we're going to recover is to sleep well. Your body constantly has feedback loops when you're sleeping. It's like, whew, where are we going to recover here? Where are we going to recover there? It's important. And when you're sleeping, you're also regulating hunger hormones. So leptin and ghrelin are your hormones that tell you if you're hungry or if you're full. And moms with young kids know they're just hungry more often a lot of times. And that's due to a variety of things. But if you're not sleeping well and you find yourself hangry, that's probably part of that formula. Also interrupts just like muscle recovery, right? And so I don't want to undervalue the importance of having muscle mass. Like when you gain muscle mass, you're not literally gaining size. In some cases, you can. There's an inflammation process that happens when you gain muscle mass. But I want you to gain muscle density. Like I want you to have more muscle within that amount of space. And so to do that, you're going to strength train, you're going to challenge yourself, you're going to recover from your workouts. So yes, sleep is so essential for that. And stress management. I think one of the things with stress, like there's good and bad forms of stress. If you're constantly stressed out, then it does need to be addressed. Like a little bit of stress, like cortisol is not bad. It's there to help us, but it is possible to have too much stress, right? And for it to negatively impact a lot of things. Like there's a tripod effect between your adrenal glands, your thyroid, and your reproductive organs, right? So like if your adrenals are stressed out, it's going to affect your thyroid. It's going to affect your reproductive system. Like they're a tripod. But I think with stress management, one of the best things I think everyone can do is just understand what's stressing them out and approach that or you go there. If there's a part of your day that stresses you out, like take 2 deep breaths and like actually drop your shoulders and let your hands fall into your lap and let your toes melt into your shoes. Like there's something so powerful about like just resetting for 2 seconds. So like if that's when you get to work, like you park your car before you get out of your car, like take 2 deep breaths, drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw. You're gonna feel so much better. Like say a little
Yes.
prayer, like right before you go into work. Like it's gonna make such a difference. And so I think awareness is the very first thing with stress,
Mhm.
is just awareness. I also think like I have this activity that I do with my clients like 2 months into the program. I actually implemented this as of recently, but you can do this in your work life. You can do this at home. It's called focus, remove, delegate is the activity, and it's a reflection project for you. It's saying what in my life. So focus is the category to say what in my life is helping me feel my best, what is working in terms of weight loss, like what part of your routine do you know is helping you, like what's making you feel good. Focus on that. Write it down, put it into the world. What parts do I need to remove? So what is stressing me out? What conversations do I need to have? What part of my like even running my household do I need to like, if it's an emotion tied to something like an expectation that you need to let go of, what is that? Write it down, reflect on it, create an action step with it. And then delegate is where do I need help? So, moms, we're doing everything. The house is a whole thing. Like, where do you need help? Like, my husband cooks 1 time a week. He has a meal that he likes to cook. We like to have like a little tidy up routine in the evening too. Like, the kids are getting older, and your oldest she's how old is she? Is
She
she
just
6?
turned 6.
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, I thought, yes. So like she's old enough to like have a chore, right? So
Yes.
like what Mara is her name, right? Yeah, Mara. So like what can Mara do at the end of the day? Like it's actually gonna help me. Like
Yeah.
and I don't have yeah. So like where can you ask for help? Or maybe it's your mom or your mother-in-law or somebody in your life that how can you have help? And so
Hmm.
this is gonna help like you understand like where your emotions are or like where you need support, what's actually helping you, and then do it. Go and
Yes.
implement it. Like write it down, hang it up in your bathroom. Remind yourself every morning, this is what's going on in my life. And
Right.
I feel like that alone can really help just like stress. But
I think that's
yeah,
such an underrated part of fat loss because when our body's in that stressed state, you mentioned cortisol and our thyroid and our adrenals, and but just also like our body then holds on to fat stores when we're stressed because it just, yeah, it affects everything. So
it does.
let's move on to tracking. So do you recommend, in terms of actionable steps for fat loss, tracking in specific areas like macros or calories or, workouts? Where does tracking come in, if at all?
Yeah. So it does depend on the client for food tracking. I think food tracking is one of the most valuable forms of feedback when it comes to nutrition. I think if you can do it with a coach, that's the best way to do it. It can be, I guess, a little confusing and overwhelming when if you start tracking your food. But if you start tracking with like you can use MyFitnessPal, the app the app or the way that I deliver my program is through an app and there's a food tracker feature in there that we use. Um, so I think it's one of the best ways for you to understand food context. So like I tell all of my clients, you come in, I love for you to track your food for 10 to 12 weeks or 8 to 12 weeks. If you track your food and you hit your goal, you will see success doing that. But the the big part of that is the educational piece. So you're tracking to learn about food. Like when you track and your carb is like 100% full and your protein's like 2, okay, why? Like you're going to have so much food context just by tracking, especially if you've never tracked before. You're going to learn so much about food. We are creatures of habit. So the foods that you eat, you're most likely eating 60% of the time. So where do those foods actually fit into your day? And how can you turn, that majority carbohydrate 200 calorie breakfast into a 400 calorie breakfast that has protein? And it's just it's little changes. So like I'll give weekly feedback on food logs for my girls. Sometimes in a group setting, sometimes like comments on feedback on the food log, or if there's a pattern I notice, I'll be like, this is an adjustment that we can make so that you can hit your goal in the morning, lunch, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I am a big pusher for food tracking unless the client feels like that would be like a psychological,
Yeah, like restrictive.
boundary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if they're like, nope, that would be like hard for me like to even want to eat something else. Like in those conversations, like portion control is a great method. The difference between like portion control then and like food tracking is you actually have awareness of like where a protein bar fits, or I think in the health world, like fats are they're very healthy, and I love healthy fats. There's a lot of fats in a lot of foods. So like when you log something and you're like, oh my gosh, that's like a lot of fat, or like you go throughout your day and your fat is very common for fat to be like 40% over at the beginning of their journey. Like if you're eating healthy foods and you're not seeing success in a fat loss goal, it could be that your fat is simply like just so far over. Fats are not bad, but it's very possible to eat too many of them. You don't need to overeat fat to be more healthy. I would rather you you have you eat your fat throughout the day with all of the good sources, and now you're within range and you're nourishing your body in an appropriate manner, and then you have context on kind of how that
Yeah.
fits.
That's
But
very interesting. Thank you for sharing that because, yeah, I think it can be a confusing where sometimes it's viewed as very restrictive, but how you described it is it's more so eye opening to kind of see where you're at and
yeah.
then be able to adjust things a little bit more simply from there. So, as we move towards wrapping up today's conversation, I want to know what are 2 to 3 things you wish every woman would stop doing when trying to lose fat?
Stop doing. I would say, I mean, restriction is the one of the very first things that come to mind. I don't want you doing Optavia. I don't want you doing like any if you're going to do a weight loss program, like I want you to walk away feeling empowered, and I want you to have context on how to like make this a lifestyle. Like I want you to stop feeling like you need to do less to have results, because that's not the case. And I also feel like women feel like they always want to be smaller, and that's just simply not the goal to always be smaller. Along the journey, you will find like you're going to appreciate different stages of your life, and when you have like those foundational pieces in place, every landing mark in your pregnancy, postpartum, to now I have like a young family that's like, my kids are like between like 2 and 10. Like you're gonna find appreciation in all of those pieces when you have a better foundation in place. So stop going to extremes. Stop. I used to be affiliated with First Form. I say used to because I'm not like loud and like I don't like participate a whole lot anymore. I have a couple supplements from them that I do like, but that I will recommend. Like I think their post-workout blend, the vegan blend, is a good option for a post-workout. But I didn't love how extreme they were with like the 75 hard. Um, I like being gritty. I like being like discipline. I like having like that form of like, you know, I have something that what's the word I'm looking for?
Like
Like
working
I'm
towards.
dialed in. Yeah, like I'm
Uh-huh.
dialed in, and I'm going after this. Like I'm here for that. But I don't need women to feel like if I want to lose 20 pounds, I need to do 2 workouts a day and follow a diet, because that's not true.
Right. Right.
So I feel like just stop starting with with extremes, I think would be the first thing, and let it take time. If
Mhm.
you want to lose 20 pounds plus and keep it off forever, it will take 3 to 4 months to do that. And
Mhm.
so let it take time.
Yeah, that is such good advice. And what would you say to the woman who feels defeated? She feels like she's tried everything and nothing has worked.
I would say one thing that always sticks out to me when I started my weight loss journey was good equals good. So if you feel defeated and if you need a place to start, if you do good things will happen. So I think that's like it doesn't matter what good thing happens, but something good will happen. Like if you're eating your fruits and vegetables and feeding your family a meal, and that's something to feel good about, like start there, and it will compile. Like it will it'll multiply, and over time those big changes, you'll see them. One day you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to be like, it happened. It's going to be like you're going to literally, it's going to be like you feel like you see no progress, and then boom, all of it out of nowhere you're going to be like, holy cow, who's that? Like you're going to feel good. And so let it like just let good equals good. Let it start there. Like whether it's protein, fruits and veggies, one better choice. Like you always, you might have like pastry items in your cabinet, and you instead of buying 4 of them, like I say Oreos because they're the first thing that comes to mind, but like things like that. Like if you have like the packaged food in there, it has a time and place. Instead of buying 4 of them, buy 3 and an extra bag of pears. Like just
Slowly start phasing in the good, and good will keep equaling more good because you'll start
yeah,
to crave more because you'll feel better. Yeah, that's really good advice.
yes, I yeah, yep,
Janelle, today's conversation was so powerful. I feel like it really is for every single woman, like across the board, whether you're trying to currently lose weight or if you're trying to just create sustainable progress. Like if even if you're happy with where you're at now and want to sustain that and don't know how, this was so impactful. So any like where can people connect with you and your work, Janelle?
yeah. So I'm on Instagram is my primary platform. So if you're interested in like coaching or learning more, like just message me on Instagram. I run based programs, and then I onboard one-to-one like in between. So the group based program is like it's a little bit more like in depth and like live touch points. So I feel like one of the most valuable ways to experience my coaching is through my group coached program. Next one starts September 17th. So that's just kind of something on the calendar to look forward to. But Janelle.fatlosscoach is my Instagram handle. And then Phase Empowerment is my business, like PHASE empowerment. It stands for Practicing Habits of Achieving Self Empowerment. So that's my Facebook. And then, yeah, I would say those are the 2 places that we could connect.
Awesome. And I will link everything below. If this episode resonated with you, take a screenshot and share it in your stories. Tag the two of us at Dr. Kayla Borchers and Janelle, say your handle again.
Janelle.fatlosscoach.
Okay. Because honestly, both of us are here to empower and support you. And the way that that happens is by more and more women learning that these resources are available. So,
Yeah.
no gatekeeping here. Let's share with others our big takeaways from today's episode. Or if you do not like to share to socials, that's okay. Leave us a comment, leave a review on Holistically Well on the podcast here, and tell us your key takeaways. It is so helpful for both of us to know what stands out the most to you, and that can better help us tailor our education to continue to help support women on their journeys to optimal health. So thanks again for joining us on Holistically Well, Janelle. We are excited to support you ladies as you move through your own Holistically Well health journey. Until next time, be holistically well. Hold on a second. Don't go just yet. I've got a special giveaway just for my Holistically Well listeners. Each month, I'll be choosing one winner to receive a free one-on-one session with me, Dr. Kayla. That's a full 60 minutes, virtually or in person, focused entirely on your individualized care with a holistic doctor of physical therapy. To enter, just hit pause, leave a 5-star rating, and share what you're loving about the show. Your feedback helps shape future episodes and helps more women find this space. I can't wait to connect with you.